This is Speaking on Songs with Holden Smith and Nate Luxo. Enjoy. One of us needs to here. Wait, let's high five. Ready? 3, 2, 1, bah!
One of us needs to high five?
It was both of us.
Takes two to tango.
All right, so now we can line up.
Nate
ready
and Holden in the morning.
All right, I guess we're gonna start.
Yeah.
Yo, hey everybody,
Yo.
what's going on?
Oh my goodness.
Oh
We're
my
back
gosh.
and you're back.
We're drinking lattes and
Homemade lattes.
it's very subpar.
Made in Holden's home. That's why he's being self-deprecating.
I made it
They're
with a
delectable.
mocha pot, which I don't know if that's true espresso, but I don't really care. It's the closest I can get.
You did a great job.
And it's like a mocha latte, but I don't know. It's not as good as I want it to be.
So if we're more energetic than usual this episode, that's why.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee's the reason.
Jammed coffee into espresso.
Exactamundo. But yeah, I just don't understand milk.
Who does, really, besides farmers? Wait, I have a question.
Yeah?
What have you been listening to lately, Holden?
Actually. Oh wait, weren't we doing the Spotify Wrapped?
Yeah, I thought.
It's okay. It's okay. So recently,
Have you not been listening to your Spotify Wrapped?
I haven't been listening. No, that's old news.
Oh,
You're not allowed.
I thought that was still relevant. I'm sorry.
You're not allowed to listen to what you listened to last year. Don't you know that?
No, obviously not.
You have to completely wipe the palate. Spit out the wine in the bucket.
Well, it's good to know now before 2024. Okay, fine. Then what did you listen to through this whole year? What did you listen to?
I honestly forgot about it too. Let me just pull up.
I didn't forget. I just thought you were listening to it. I thought it was still a relevant question.
You're right. It is a relevant question. I just kind of turned it on you. But like,
Okay.
I'm sorry, guys. We're tired. We
Yeah.
stayed up way too late last night.
Worshiping the Lord.
Amen,
So
brother.
I guess no amount of late is too late then.
Yes. Let me pull up our convo.
Pull it up.
But as for stuff that I'm listening to recently, man, you put me on the spot. I've been listening to not a lot, but I started listening to one song of Jeff Buckley.
Okay. What song?
Lover, You Should Come Over.
All right.
It's really good.
What do you like about that song?
I really like the end part where he's like, "Lover, come over."
That was good.
Tease the tear. I love the passion and the emotion in it.
Because
And
does the
it's
passion kind of build in that song? Sorry to cut you
yeah.
off. I feel like that was a big part of it.
Oh yeah, it does. I also been listening to 1st of October. Have you ever heard of this band?
That sounds familiar,
I've
but I
definitely
might
told
just
you
be
about
capping. Did you tell me about 1st of October?
Oh yeah.
Share more. Pray tell.
So there's these two YouTubers, and I'm Rob Scallon and Andrew Yang.
Okay.
I think those are their names. I'm so sorry if they aren't. But
They're
they
listening.
made this tradition a while ago. This must be their like 5th or 6th album. But they get together and they have an engineer and a bunch of instruments, and they have to make an album in a day. So like I think they give themselves 12 or 13 hours. So they make an entire album and see what they, come up with. And this year they did it in the Abbey Road studio.
Wow.
That's where the Beatles are.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. And it was a really interesting one, and it's a very different one. Sometimes they go too metal, which I'm not a metal person, but so I don't really like it when they go that way. Well, I don't attach myself to it as much.
Right.
But this one I felt really attached to because it was very somber, evoking the Beatles, and yeah, there was just there's a video of them making it. That's my favorite part of that album. Of
That is cool.
watching the videos of them actually coming up with the songs. But what was one that I really liked from this album?
Wonder if metal's easier to make quickly, and that's maybe why they gear toward that.
Yeah, but I think they also just like to do stuff that they actually like, which is yeah, you should.
Which is a good
This
thing.
one had a really good. There was Across the Road, which was very Beatles heavy. Abbey Road.
Hang on.
So the gimmick of this song is like Michael Dove, like Jesus Walked,
Okay.
Abbey Road.
Oh, bro.
But it's a fun, dude. It's a fun song.
Oh, goodness.
Usually was really good. Dorian. I'm just going through this album. You should just always just check them out. Start from the beginning.
All right.
It's this really cool experiment that like just keeps giving every 1st of October. So
that's nice. That's cool.
Yeah. And that's what I was listening to. So we'll get into the Spotify rap later. But what were you listening to, Big Nate?
Good question.
From those children books, Big Nate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I started listening to some of the stuff that I liked more back at like end of high school, beginning of college. So like The Roots, which like Black Thought and Questlove, and this guy named David Bazan. I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. He makes like indie-tronica sort of stuff, but with really contemplative lyrics, and I think that I just ate that stuff up at like senior year of high school. I don't know why, but I started listening to that again and kind of doing some weird reflection of like, oh, where am I at now listening to this stuff? Because it's not stuff that I've been listening to since then. It's like it was explicitly that time or exclusively that time.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So that was an experience. And I've also been listening to, have you heard of Wild Rivers?
No, I have not.
They make what I would call polished folk. So like it's very definitely folk, but it's very round around the edges, and like I accidentally listened to all of their songs because I put them on while I was working and driving home. And I think my comprehensive opinion is that all of their songs, most of their songs at least, sound like first drafts when like the idea is freshest in their minds. You know, like it doesn't sound like they've been sitting on their songs for a while and like some of the passion got watered down because they were like making it sound just right. Each song sounds like they just got the idea out in the studio and you're hearing like the first thing. And I think that's what I like most about them.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to go back. I really like you going back to listen to what younger Nate was listening to.
Oh yeah, weirdo.
I'm scared. I mean, I know as younger Holden, I was just listening to like just 80s rock and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'd ever return to it, but I'd return to Journey
or Talking Heads.
Well, that's set. Oh, I guess that is 80s.
They became 80s, like against their will. They were like, fine.
We are New Age.
We are not making sense though. New Age.
Yeah, they're called New Age. New Age pop.
Yeah, because they had like I think 2 albums in the 70s, and then we're like, okay, 80s were embracing it, and they were still themselves. That's what's so great about them.
Mm-hmm. All right. So how do you feel about your Spotify rap?
I feel good. Technical question: where do we see how long we've been recording?
I was actually just going off the time, but if you want to look at the program, it's right there. So it's 8 minutes and 30 seconds so far.
Excellent. Okay.
But know that we recorded a little bit before we started recording. We're a mess today.
It'll be fine. We'll cap it at 45. 50. I feel good about my Spotify Wrapped. I was really self-conscious about it a couple other years just because, I feel like half of people are like, oh, this isn't accurate at all. And then half of people are like, yeah, that's fair. Mm-hmm. And this year I was in the camp of that's fair. And I'm actually excited about it because Fiona Apple was my top artist, and she is my top artist forever. She's amazing. And then I think I got some good variety of genres in my top 5 too, because there was Tom Waits was 2. Then Fred Again, who makes that house music out of like voice memos and FaceTime calls.
Really?
Yes.
There's a guy that does that?
Yes. I don't listen to house music, but when I'm working or whatever, I just turn on Fred Again and just like bop back and forth because everything's so rhythmic but personal. Like he doesn't lose that humane aspect of music because he makes beats out of like people talking and saying normal things. It's amazing. And
That is really cool.
he was my number 3. Billy Woods was number 4. He's probably my favorite rapper right now just because he's a scholar, and I feel like I learned something by listening to even like a couple minutes of his songs.
And the big brain.
Big
brain's
brain.
growing. Getting more ridges.
Ridges and wrinkles.
Ditches and
Isn't that like a Christian band, Ridges and Wrinkles? Rivers and Robots.
Oh, okay. I was like, that would be a terrible name for a band.
Referring to the brain, obviously. I'm just
Why?
It's not obvious at all. We're very sarcastic on this show. Number 5 was Taylor Swift because she is who she is, and I'm not ashamed of that.
Yeah, her.
How do you feel about your Spotify Wrapped, Holden?
It's totally wrong. It's not me at all.
It's rigged.
If I post that, people are gonna make fun of me.
Why didn't you
For
post
what
it?
I
really should have.
I don't have Instagram right now. But I was really happy with mine. But it's not
Good.
like it's so weird to be happy or like sad about what you listen to and stuff like that. I hate that there's this like this should be a fun thing to know how you spent the year. And I don't know, maybe it's just a thing where you look back on the year and you're kind of being more critical of yourself when you actually look at the stats. Like, man, I should have listened to that Fleet Foxes song way more than that other song.
Right.
Why did I? But this year it made the most sense. I feel like my what I like is more defined now, so I can it reflected that definitely. I also am not. I remember last year mine was ruined because like apparently this one song played over and over again.
Oh no.
Like on my PC. So like I had no idea, so it ruined the stats of everything.
Oh man. It's skewed. It actually is rigged this time.
Isn't it? But yeah.
This is a tangent, I'm sorry. I worked
Go
in
for
a
it.
warehouse where they played a playlist that I bet the criteria was 100 songs that literally everybody born 2000 or after knows. Because it was like every 2010s pop hit that just plagued the airwaves in that whole decade, and then like a couple there were a couple Journey songs and like a couple like throwbacks to the 90s or whatever.
Nice.
Throwbacks in quotes, yeah.
Yeah.
And goodness gracious, this was played by one of my coworkers who was my age, and I just can't imagine her Spotify Wrapped at the end of the year is like top song, Club Can't Handle Me by Flo Rida. Number 2, Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. Like it's gonna be so basic and very rigged.
Yeah. I don't know.
So at least
we have
have some individuality there.
It always reflects what you did with your Spotify time, and that person provided music for that. That area, and did it sacrificially.
Yes, exactly. Immolating your own Spotify Wrapped for the benefit of others, so we didn't have to work in not silence, but musiclessness.
Yes, and we also must know that like our Spotify Wrapped can really be whatever we want. Like if we wanted to, we could listen to exactly what we want our stats to be.
True.
Like if I want to reflect. Let's say I'm a Swiftie, and I want to reflect that my top 5 Taylor Swift songs are in the exact order that I want them to be.
Yeah.
Like that's, I can make that happen, but that might not be reflective of what I'm actually listening to, what I'm actually trying out, what I'm like, listening to in the car. Maybe I need to switch it up to some Bach.
It always comes back to Bach.
I know. I couldn't think of any other artist.
Yeah, your classical artist that you listen to be all esoteric at school.
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know. I don't know if it was him.
Could have been anybody.
It was Mr. Violinist number 5. That's my favorite one.
Oh yeah, my personal favorite artist this year was Christmas songs.
Christmas songs.
Yep, they were in my recently played.
Oh man. I can't wait. We need to do a bonus episode where we make our own Christmas volume track.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea.
Why are you acting like this? Why are you acting like this?
Because it's a great idea.
I told him a while ago, but you didn't.
You deserve credit for you were cooking. This wasn't off the cuff. You put thought into this, and
I did.
You deserve to be commended.
But yeah, we should do that.
Yes.
Should we get on with it?
Get on with it. That was horrible.
We have a band that is near and dear to both of our hearts.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's not our band.
No, we not our band.
Oh, you were in my Spotify rap, by the way.
That's
Just as a little
disgusting.
asterisk. Okay, continue.
Very poor taste if I'm in your Spotify rap. I'm just gonna say.
I never said my taste wasn't poor.
Could I wait? I should have checked if I could have done one of those messages.
Oh my goodness.
Man.
Hey guys, it's Holden from Familiar Horizon. I
Hey,
just wanted to thank you for listening to my like just make it so bad.
There was
They make theirs so quick, and that'd be great if you drew yours out like let's talk about this for a second.
It's like
why'd you listen to me?
It's me doing a whole playthrough or something. I'm like,
So this is
Now
how we
watch
made it.
me.
You turned it into a documentary about making the song.
There's a clip going around of Weird Al's.
Oh no.
Like thank you. And it's pretty tame, but it's kind of funny where he's like, yeah, I just had 8 million. You know, you don't have to look at the time, man. We're rolling. He was like, I got 8 million people, so if I do the math correctly, I made about like $12.
That's so good.
So I could probably get a nice sandwich at a restaurant.
That's amazing.
It's great.
Especially because Joni Mitchell would be all over everyone's rap
Oh my gosh.
if she stayed. That's not why she left, like the artist revenue or whatever. But
Exactly.
all right, continue. I'm so sorry.
All right. Do we even... The band we're talking about today is Fleet Foxes.
Not Fleetwood Mac. Don't get
No.
it twisted.
Just the same fleet, but it's a fox. It's a
Yeah.
bunch of foxes now.
If you were searching for Fleetwood Mac and ended up here, we're glad you're here. But we're talking about a markedly different band.
And if we need to pander to you to do Fleetwood Mac,
Then we will do that
we
in a
will do that.
heartbeat.
Please stay.
The
Please
drop
stay.
of a
Please stay.
hat.
Please stay.
You're next up. Yeah, Fleetwood. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Coin in the jar. Fleet
but-
Foxes, the band.
Yeah.
Near and dear to our hearts. You're right.
Yes, they are a prominent band to emerge in the late 2000s in the indie folk boom. They're from Seattle, and they fuse earthy, harmony-rich folk rock with a sense of lush pop sophistication, calling to mind in the late 60s, like the Beach Boys, the Zombies, and Fairport Convention. Do you think this is
That's
true?
pretty good, dude.
Yeah, this is they wrote this for themselves on Spotify.
That wasn't
So it better be
original
good.
Holden material?
No.
Oh, man. I thought we were getting some OHM.
I love this band.
Sophistopop is fully a genre. Why say lush pop sophistication? Sorry.
'Cause it is actually, you know what? They're very lush.
They are
I
lush.
think their harmonies, I feel like, you know, I'd say a little bit of the Beatles, but the Beach Boys were definitely like the big lush harmonies. They were all about
Yep.
that, and I feel like the Fleet Foxes are kind of like a successor of that. Because I don't know, like there's obviously other acts that do that, but this is very much in their forefront and like a big piece of who they are. And I love them, and they're kind of like, when I first listened to them, I loved how unique they were. How like they had
Yeah.
like this gothic spin to them in their harmonies, a lot of dissonance.
Because when you think of folk, you think almost of like, not minimalism, but like things are relatively stripped back, and yet they have like really big scale over all of their albums, which we'll talk about. That's not that'll be a comparison point, but yeah, they have 4 albums, and that lushness definitely cascades over all of them for sure.
It's amazing. And I will say we're gonna rank all 4 of their albums.
Yep,
They only have 4, so not 5. They should fix that.
they
but,
should really fix that. Yeah.
I gotta say, there's not a bad album. There is like a layer of quality that this band has kept for a while. And I don't know. I was really glad we're visiting them, and I say let's get into it. Any other thoughts before we like? How'd you get into the Fleet Foxes?
In, I believe, sophomore year of high school, I was looking at a winter playlist. I think it was by Spotify. So we're just plugging them everywhere, I guess, this episode. But I think it was just called Winter, very basic. And I was like, hey, this will be perfect for winter vibes because I was a very deep thinker. And then that was the first song that I heard was Helplessness Blues by Fleet Foxes off their eponymous second album. And I really liked it because Robin Pecknold, I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. Robin Pecknold's songwriting is like really blunt, but still poetic, but still conversational. Like he was able to balance a lot of things in the way he would say, like, I was raised on believing I was somehow unique. Like a snowflake distinct among snowflakes, unique in each way you could see. Yeah. And it bordered on being...
thinking.
What?
But after some thinking.
But now, the way he 180, he's like, I'd say I'd rather be. And he says he'd rather be a functioning cog in some great machinery serving something beyond me. And I was like, wow, he just conveyed like a whole moral crisis and resolution in just a couple measures. And it didn't sound corny. And I really liked how sincere it was. And it was in a genre that like obviously, like you said, there was the indie folk boom or whatever around that time with like Bon Iver and
they said
artists.
I will
like
reiterate that. But there was an indie folk boom, which I love.
Right, but it was also like that boom itself. That movement was still like distinct from everything that was going on. So like every movement, even though there were other people doing the same thing, I wasn't like, oh, this makes contextual sense right now in 2000. What was it, 11? Yeah. Like, oh yeah, this type of song makes perfect sense in the same year that we're getting all these like ridiculously poppy songs, and like people would be like, oh, rock is dying, and then we get something like the Fleet Foxes singing about snowflakes and machines, and you're like, this is actually really different. I like it a lot. It was refreshing. How did you find the Fleet Foxes?
I actually kind of did the same thing of like going on Spotify. I remember I was, I don't know, I was really excited for my computer setup, and I was like excited to have Spotify for the first time or something like that. And I was like, man, I like old timey kind of like guitar and stuff like that. I guess I like folk, and this is what I'm going to try and base my personality on.
There are worse things to base your personality on.
So I better do my research. And I typed in like folk playlist, and they, Mykonos. It was the first song I listened to, and I was like, it hit me. Cause like, I didn't thought I knew what folk was. I thought I knew it was man or woman, songwriting, guitar, acoustic. And that really blew me out of the way, and how it like switched up, and it was just so much fun, and like so much like like with that I love his writing, and I think you beautifully iterated why like it is such a inviting like writing to listen to, and it's never corny, but he'll throw words at you in a way that like other artists could like try using in their songwriting, and kind of make it corny and stuff like that.
It's still so earnest though. Like he never feels self-conscious, which in a countercultural movement, like you can kind of not expect, but justify. Like you're constantly thinking about your place in a wider scheme. Yeah. And yet they are in a different context than what was around them, and they still sound exactly like themselves, and it sounds like they exist in their own little world, and I appreciate that a lot.
Exactly. I also, in my head, did the Pentatonics cover one of their songs, White Winter Hymnal?
I think so.
Yeah, that's definitely, maybe that is technically when I first heard of them.
Oh, yeah.
Or their work. But that song's really good too. So yeah, Nate, let's jump into it.
Oh, yes.
We need to keep track, because I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot to go first every single time, but what's your number 4?
Yeah, let's not worry about that right now. Number 4. I don't want to sound like I'm just trying to be contrarian. Because I thought this opinion, and then I listened to all 4 albums again a couple weeks ago, and I still have this opinion. Number 4 is the album that I first heard from them, Helplessness Blues.
Whoa.
But I understand the weight that comes with that placement.
All right.
Helplessness Blues is a really good introduction to them, I would say. Like, if I was trying to show someone, because, by the way, you're the only other person I know who has known the Fleet Foxes. Like,
Really?
Well, okay,
How
I
many
know.
people?
I'll bring this up when we talk about their self-titled cover, but, like, some people know some of their songs, but I've never met someone and been like, oh, you like the Fleet Foxes. Like, I keep saying the. I don't care. Drop the the. It's cleaner. Fleet Fox.
Drop the the.
It's cleaner. Fleet Foxes.
And like that, he left.
Fleet Foxes really, really express their essence, I guess, for lack of a less abstract word, in Helplessness Blues, because I think it's the instrumental range where they're not most comfortable, because they still take some risks, but it's like it's where they really feel like they're in their element.
That is their sound.
Like, if you're gonna show an alien a Fleet Foxes album to get them to understand what they sound like, show them Helplessness Blues. It's great.
Yes.
I like most of the songs on there, but I feel like whereas the other albums go lots of places, I need to phrase this correctly, because I took notes on my listening and I forgot them.
Oh, no.
It feels like most of the other albums, by comparison, will spend a lot of time in one particular area. To give like a geographical metaphor, like they spend time in this one little area, and then the next song is in a completely different one. And so by that traveling, you like get a larger landscape of like where the album takes place sonically or thematically or whatever. It feels like they spend a lot of time in one specific area. This album, Helplessness Blues, feels like it's kind of just wandering and not really giving anything that much time to like really stay in it, except for the title track, Helplessness Blues. I feel like that song does feel like it intimately stays in a little pocket of like their themes and everything that they want to tackle. And yet every other song feels like they're kind of skimming the surface, and you can almost like see the traveling more than the admiration of the scenery, if that makes sense. I know that's so abstract, but that's how I feel when I hear it.
It's
that's
a
what makes it number
very,
4.
if I remember, it's a very abstract album on purpose, because it's like focusing on different people's stories, like little pictures of it.
Right, yeah.
And but except like Helplessness Blues, it's more like just his song talking about himself, instead of the other songs talking about like stories of people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it takes a similar approach to what they do throughout the rest of their discography, because like we said, like it's their signature album or whatever, but I think the approach that they took was just something that I personally didn't prefer, just because I wanted more songs like Quiet Houses or Your Protector or Third of May or Sunblind. Like, I love those songs on the other albums that are like, it feels like a snapshot, and then you kind of piece together where they're coming from. This feels like it gives you exactly where they're coming from, and you're not doing as much work, if that makes sense. I don't know. It's fantastic, obviously. Like, I'm not, like, this is one of our favorite bands, and like you said, they don't have a bad album, I don't think. I agree. I'm not trashing it or anything. It's like, dude, with Abbey honestly, Road. It's literally their Abbey Road.
When you're talking about this, I'm going to get into my top 4. The fourth one is the only one I'm like 100% sure on, and probably number 1. But like, now that you're talking about Helplessness Blues, I'm like going through my head. I'm like, am I really going to put it there? Oh, wait, do I want to put it there? Do I put that? Because what all you said was, pretty much true. Like my thoughts on it too, of how it's written and how deep it gets, how abstract it is. And thanks.
Because it feels like they put all of their strengths into every album. So it's not to say that this one doesn't have the strengths. It's just a matter of preference of like, if you like the way it's presented. Like, I love the way it's presented in Shore or they're self-titled, but here just not as much. It's purely a preference thing. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
All right.
What about your Quattro?
Mine is a thing that I think you made me listen to this one, and
I did.
I really enjoyed it. I loved it. Because I never thought about exploring an artist's full discography before. Um, and why am I forgetting its name? Is it Crack Up?
Yes.
Okay, it's Crack
Yes,
Up.
it is.
I think Crack Up is awesome. I love how it's very. You can tell that it's written by him in this certain season, this certain this kind of reflection that he has about himself in very like mental space and stuff like that, and how like most of the songs are kind of like moody a little bit, and compared to the other ones where they have like a rural vibe to it. Like their vibes are different. This one pushes a little more modern into the recording, and kind of, I don't know how to like describe or argue that it should be the fourth, because I think it could be anywhere. I think all these albums could be anywhere. But this one had only like a few tracks that I would like add to my playlist and stuff like that. And that's okay. This is an amazing, like, we're ranking it on its album, not its hits, but
yes,
I feel like most of these songs do blend together and also overstay their welcome sometimes, and also switch up when I don't want them to. Like 3rd of May. Like I like that song a lot, but I don't like the second part of it. It kind of switches up, and I think I just don't like the directions they took as much as the other ones. I think that's why it's my number 4.
That's fair. I think everything you say makes sense. It's again,
Good.
it's like again, it's just about like what you prefer in their approach, because
Yeah,
they have a relatively similar approach to each album.
exactly. I don't know. I think maybe we should have guessed on which ones, what our rankings were gonna be, because I bet you like this album.
Crack Up?
Yeah, but
yeah.
I don't know
love
where it's
Crack
gonna
Up.
be, but I don't know. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it, because you seem to have more of a past with it, stuff like that.
We have a prior relationship.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What's your number 3, Nate? What's your
Number
number 3?
It's great that you mentioned a season of life. I know that's not necessarily what you meant, but like we have to talk about seasons if we're talking about this.
We never
band.
talked about it. Me and Nate were talking about it. How like each album represents a season.
Right. Which like we want them to make another album, but they kind of made all the seasons.
Yeah.
So the ones we
Israel.
talked about already, Helplessness Blues is very autumnal, as you'll hear if you listen to it. It sounds like, especially with the song like Shrine and Argument, it sounds like not decay, but deterioration of some kind, Especially with something like Helplessness Blues, the song, it sounds like it starts at one place and then descends. Not necessarily in a negative way. Like it's able to find hope and positive things out of that process, but it does acknowledge that sense of decay. And then Crack Up, like you said, it's all moody and everything. That's their winter album. And
Crack Up?
Crack Up, yeah.
Wait, I thought it was Fleet Fox.
No, which is weird because that has White Winter Hymnal, but that's that's their spring album.
That's the spring album. Yeah, it is. It has to be, because all those.
That
snows
is
melt.
track number 2. So you could argue that it's like turning from winter into spring.
Yeah, no, you're really. It's true. It's true.
But
Yeah.
my number 3 is their summer album, Shore,
What?
from the year 2020 AD.
Oh, our favorite year. That was a joke.
Anyway, so this album, it actually didn't come out in summer. And I really appreciate that they could still evoke
Yes.
summer as much as they did throughout this album, because everything is so glazy and bright, and it's not always happy. I'll get to Sunblind and how that song is not the happiest song, but like it sounds exactly the way I think they intended in the idea that summer isn't necessarily the beginning of things like spring is. It's not the end of things like winter. It can be kind of a middle area where you're not exactly sure what's going on. And autumn is next. Like, you know, there's a fall coming, which is weird because it embraces that, like, those high points of that summer inevitably brings, but it doesn't even though their fourth album, it doesn't make it sound like the summer season is permanent in any way.
Yeah.
I don't know if that made any sense.
It makes perfect sense, dude.
Like a vending machine when you press the button. Okay. So
You gotta pay first, though.
I like when albums, it really, like, lots of different pieces of art have like a little barrier at the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I listened to this again, I thought of a movie called Inherent Vice, which has like a very distinct vibe throughout the whole movie. It's just a very, very particular vibe that they're going for in the 70s. And then the first segment of the movie is just dialogue, Joanna Newsom narrating, and you don't get that vibe at all. And then eventually one of the characters drives away. Joaquin Phoenix is alone in the street. And then the title flashes and Vitamin C by Can starts playing. And you're like, oh, it's this type of movie. Oh. That's how I felt with Shore, because there's that first track that's not really a song. It's a song, but it's like...
It's very not Robin. All over the place. Yeah, it's not even the lead singer. I forget her. She's awesome. I want to check her out. Let me find. Can I find her name? She's not even featured on there.
Nah, you'd have to look at her, like the liner notes or whatever.
Yeah, maybe later. But she's amazing, and I really want to check her stuff out.
Yeah, because that song isn't like a prelude or an overture that's like, here's what you're gonna get. It's like, oh, this is a little bit different. And then the second Sunblind starts, because it transitions seamlessly, and then Sunblind, he's like, for Richard Swift, for John and Bill. Yeah. And like, there's nothing, like, you feel like you just got past the barrier, and you're like, oh, I'm welcomed into this album now. And I love that feeling that it's like, there was something at the beginning to be like, wait, be patient. Then you get the rest of the album that's the exact same vibe as Sunblind, the rest. And that song is so happy sounding because it has that like aura of summer, and all the instrumentation is so bright.
For a weekend, warm American waters were different.
And then every lyric practically is a tribute to someone who passed away, either from COVID or just in 2020.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Frig.
I know. And like he mentions John Prine, that's the John, and Bill Withers, that's John and Bill in the beginning. Oh. And he mentions Elliott Smith, who is a big influence. If you listen to Elliott Smith, like, you can hear them kind of emerging in some of the more somber Fleet Foxes tracks. And he mentions Judy Sill. I love Judy Sill and have never met anyone who knows who she is, but she was like a very brief like folk genius who came out of the 70s, and her voice was just so lush and her songwriting was so poignant. And then she passed away after making like 2 albums. She just like burnt out so soon. And then for them to have her in the beginning of this song, like, you know, like it's that middle area between beginnings and ends where you're not really sure what the mood is, because it sounds happy and then it's like really reflective. And I like that those coexist. They're not fighting each other throughout the album. Like, I feel like some of the concepts are like fighting each other in Helplessness Blues. Maybe that was the point. I don't know.
No, I agree fully, and that's why my number 3 is also Shore.
Yo,
I love this, dude. I have the fondest memories of being alone in actually no. It was like rough coming to college during like COVID and being in the dorms, nothing to do and staying in my room, and the dorms are already so boring. So, but
not a great ground zero to build up.
That album came out and it just gave me so much joy, and I think it's just like their happiest album probably.
Consistently,
It's definitely like evoking being on the shore and just calming yourself and stuff like that. Like just calming yourself and also enjoying the summer and enjoying time how it stands. And I love this album. What's your favorite track from it?
I'm gonna mispronounce it. It's Maestranza.
Maestranza.
That song That's the one that's like, now that the light is on. Yeah.
It's great.
That's the brightest sounding song on the track. I think like if like there already is a song called Shore on the album, but I feel like that song more encapsulates what the album is like.
It is.
Whereas Shore like ties everything. Shore the track ties everything together. What about you?
I'm looking at all of these, and I think I like them all.
I like them all.
I love the opening track, Some Blind.
Blind.
Can I believe you got me, man?
Because that's another one where like it's happy and
Yeah.
contemplative at the same time. It like holds those concepts right by each other and they coexist.
I love A Long Way in the Past, For a Week or Two, Featherweight.
Featherweight. Oh,
I love how they like also have like new. They like recorded stuff more modern. It's very more modern sounding. It is a step away from their like folk old English like gothic kind of like feel and stuff like that. This is more rural, in the time, in the place, modern kind of sounding with like the piano.
so like less rural.
Oh, what?
You mean less rural than their other
Less
stuff?
rural? I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. It depends what you mean by rural, I guess. But I think you make more sense when you use it like that.
Well, no, I just want to understand what you mean, but I think you're exactly right, and I think it makes sense for an album that shifts so significantly in other faculties to then shift in that way too. Like it's not such a left turn to be like, why does it sound like this? It's like,
Yeah.
well, it's tackling a different season of life, and it approaches it in such a different way. It kind of makes sense for it to have a different sonic palette.
Nice. And I love the horns. The horns are a great addition. That like I think if you go back, you can definitely hear them in the other tracks. But it was all kind of like flirting, you know. The only horn that I
Yeah.
can think of actually is the one in the shrine.
The shrine,
Where-
the
like
argument, I think you mean.
The argument. Sorry.
That saxophone. I'm like, this is my favorite instrument. It sounds like it's being strangled.
But yeah, I say we move on. It's a great album, and I've just been re-listening to that a lot
Good.
recently. All right.
Listen to this band if you haven't. At least try one album from them because it's 4 seasons. So like if you don't like that one, you might like another one. They're just really good at encapsulating what they're going for.
Would you recommend Shores their first?
I think I would recommend Helplessness Blues first.
Ooh,
Just
that's fair.
because it, like we said, it's their sound. You know, I think it's a good indicator of if someone would like them or not. But I see how Shore being more accessible would make sense.
It could be like the gateway into the sound. But honestly, just go all in.
Just
Try something
chronological
new.
listen.
Grow up.
Listen to their greatest hits album halfway
Ah.
through. Listen to their very solstice version of the very lonely solstice. You know what I'm
That
talking
one's
about?
good.
It's great. Honorable
incredible.
mention for their acoustic album.
Yeah.
Number 2 is I love this album as well.
Listen.
Fleet Foxes by Fleet Fox.
Oh, wait, really?
Yes. So for an album to be like self-titled, it has to, I think, like either be their first one or something. If it's not their first one, then it's something that they feel is like a really good representation of who they are.
Yeah.
And like we've been saying, they put all of their strengths into each album, and it's not like their risks separate the albums from each other that much. But this also does feel like one where it sounds so much like them, and it would be a good. There more tracks on this album would be a better introduction to them. I wouldn't show someone this album because it's like kind of a lot at once, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if someone was asking what they sounded like, I would show them like White Winter Hymnal or Your Protector.
Yes.
I love Your Protector.
It's great.
This album is them at their most like bucolic and like countryside, rural, lush, whatever you were saying. And
I like Gothic Old English.
Gothic Old English is apt as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's really good at telling those stories. Like I was saying, I think this is the approach that I like the most out of all the albums. This is what I like the most. The way each they almost feel like pages from different books. Like if you made a book mixtape of some kind, where
Yeah.
it's like, here's a book about brotherly love in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Here's a book about remembering some dude named Michael that you had a vague memory of, and here's another book about like turning there's a murder song. What's it called? Tiger Peasant
Tiger
song?
Peasant.
Tiger Peasant song.
Wait.
I'm
Tiger
conflating-
Mountain Peasant song.
I'm conflating two titles. Yeah.
He's on the mountain, stupid.
Yeah.
Not no hill.
I know. I don't think, did I say hill?
No, I know you didn't say any land structure there.
Great. Yes, Tiger Mountain Peasant song. That's another great one, but it doesn't, like, they're all tackling very different things, and yet they're all under the umbrella of that, like, countryside gothic English, or it feels like the Canterbury Tales. I just realized it sounds exactly like the Canterbury Tales, where it's like everything falls under that one category, but it's so different, and they each feel like snapshots, but they still feel pretty complete in their own right, you know? Like, it doesn't feel like you're left wanting more, but they do feel like glimpses, like complete glimpses. I'll put it that way. I have a friend who said that White Winter Hymn was their favorite Christmas song, and I appreciate that take a lot, because I never considered it like that, but it is a very wintry song. And if we're talking about like the seasonal things, I think it makes sense to have like Sun It Rises, and then, because that's the opening track, and then it's like, wait, let's reflect on winter one last time, because the whole thing's retrospective, you know? He's like, I was following the pack, also. Like, it's all a memory.
Stars of red
that
tied
he
around their
wrote
throats
to keep the little heads
from falling in the snow. Are we gonna be singing all that?
Yeah, sorry, trapped you. It's just our demo.
Yes.
And that song is very reflective, so I think it still makes sense on the spring album, even though it is kind of like Christmassy, seasonal.
It starts. I think even in the music video, if I remember, the music video is really nice because it's like claymation, and but I think it becomes spring, and then the ragged wood. The ragged wood is about spring. Yeah, and then
they even fit so well together, but they all feel like they're talking about such different things. None of them feel out of place, but like it feels like a bunch of different storybooks at once. I love it.
Oh man. All right.
What about you?
I think my number 2. This is what I'm going back and forth on. Like Shore included, because I didn't know if I really like Shore. But I'm between these two albums because I want, that's their sound. And I think I'm going to land on the decision that Helplessness Blues is my number 2.
All right. We just gave our number ones.
I know. They can figure it out. But our Helplessness Blues, and I'm just gonna talk about both of them real quick. Fleet Foxes and Helplessness Blues is the Fleet Foxes sound that they coined. Like, that is them. And like a Crack Up and Shore are extensions of that, which are awesome. Love it. But these are the albums that, like, it was their sound that they coined for themselves and made it feel very, like, Old English, folky, gothic, kind of gothic harmonies and stuff like that. Lush harmonies. Very indie folk. With, like, reflecting on, like, history and stuff like that. It's not like Crack Up and Shore is them in the moment. And then these two are like reflecting on past and stories and folklore and stuff like that. The only reason that Helplessness Blues is behind Fleet Foxes for me is Helplessness Blues has the argument.
Oh man,
like, I'm serious. Like, I feel like Helplessness Blues has this really cool sound where the band just feels like they're so together. And they have that kind of chugga 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 like feel to that in their rhythm section, and everything's so explosive in this album. And it's all I love this album and the stories and how abstract it gets, and how like reflective and the writing can get with Helplessness Blues. I just feel like some of the experimentation kind of takes me out of the album, aka the argument. It's this prolonged song that is too experimental for me in a way that didn't feel like Fleet Foxes.
Do you feel like they should have just kept it as The Shrine? Because like it's The Shrine
Yes.
and An Argument are like two songs on the same track, and An Argument explodes into saxophone, as we've talked about in this episode. Do you think they should? You said they should just keep it as Shrine.
I think they could have just shortened the argument.
Yeah.
And, like I know that there's an argument for the argument that it wouldn't have like the song
awesome.
wouldn't have been what it was if it wasn't
Yeah.
what it was. But I think argument overstays its welcome. And I think we get the point really early on, and it could have just faded out really early. But instead it just prolongs in like kind of the middle of the album, if I remember.
It's near the end, I think.
Yeah, it's near the end. But it does
Last leg.
It takes this little turn that I don't want to spend time in. I want to move on.
Because it's not like it transitions well into the last few songs either. It's like, all right, now that that's over. And it's like, well, you're why we were listening to that.
Yeah.
It's like the people who justify the 2 minutes of distorted voice at the end of Runaway by Kanye.
Yeah.
Where there's like, it feels like 3 or 4 minutes of him just going, and this really distorted guitar with some instrumentation in the background. And people are like, this is how he sounds to the media. They don't really hear him. And there's like this profound reason for him to just assault our ears for way too long. That's how the argument feels for me too.
That's so cool. All right. I also want to say some tracks that I love is like Grown Ocean.
Yes.
Like that's the very last one, but it's so hopeful. It's so much fun and so much like I really like the chugga chugga. I have to do the train like motion.
He's doing a train motion.
But the chugga chugga rhythm section, like very driving force. I love that. It's also in Sim Salabim. There's Bedyon Dress. I'm not pronouncing these right.
These titles, man.
I love them though. And Battery Kinsney. Yeah, what a fantastic album. Should I just say my number one? Because I kind of alluded to it. It's Fleet Foxes.
Yay.
They came out with this album. I think they came out with an EP before. I think that's where Mykonos
That's where you heard Mykonos.
So they knew what their sound was. And this album was just the album where this is them. This is who they are. This is our sound that we're going for. These are the ideas that we're going for. And yeah, they like continue that throughout their career, we can see. But this is their, opening album. And man, what an amazing opening, album. It's amazing. I love like most of the tracks. And you already said most of what I think about it. But I love the emotion that it goes through. I love the harmonies, especially in Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah.
Oh man, paired with like the writing and the very nostalgic, but also like longing emotions that he evokes. And there's like a lot of like just guitar, just him and guitar with Oliver James and Tiger Mountain Peasant song, really showcasing his like singer songwriter abilities. And it's an album that I've like first listened to, and I love the journey that it takes me on. Yeah,
that's sweet, man.
I love Quiet Houses, by the way.
I know you do.
It's
that
so
song
simple.
Rules.
It's so simple, but it's all the emotion.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
For them to like take a break almost from the wider soundscapes, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
My number one is Crack Up.
What?
Which came out in 2017.
Called it.
There were 6 years between Helplessness Blues and Crack Up, which I think is the longest amount of time elapsed.
Yes.
Between albums.
They just reposted.
He
greatest hits album, and they're like, no, wait a minute, we're back.
Wait, we actually have a real album. And Robin went to Columbia and studied for a bit before this album came out. And it's not like it shows in the sense that he's like dropping $1 million words all the time and like, you're not like, oh, I can
Yeah.
definitely tell you, like, it's not like that,
This
but
is
it definitely
educated man with a degree.
Yeah, it's not a difference that's as palpable as that, but you can definitely hear a difference in how seasoned he is, for no pun intended, because we can't shut up about seasons.
Yeah.
Because that's just who they are. But he sounds more seasoned, and there's a little bit more of a jaded sound than even in Helplessness Blues, I feel like. Like, I know that's sometimes not what you really like because it's more moody and everything than what we've grown to become used to with them, and I get that 100%. I think that the most memorable moments of their career are on this album. Like, when I was listening to it again, I was like, I didn't realize just how frequently different. Could I? Oh yeah. I didn't realize
just grab
just
my
how,
phone. That's fine.
how
Yeah, no, it's
frequently.
Oh, what are you doing? Text it. Okay, you're texting everybody now. Oh, that's great.
Okay, it's Holden. Moments from 3rd of May and I Am All That I Need and Fool's Errand especially, or even I Should See Memphis. Those, like, there will be different chord progressions and like moments of meditation in those songs that I think of often and don't even realize that it's coming from that album.
Yeah.
So I think this one's just like burrowed enough in my brain that I appreciate it as much as I do. And I do like how they play with the number of songs versus the number of tracks. I know you'd mentioned not liking the second half of 3rd of May, and I get that too. They really just go all out with their second halves. They're like, all right, now that we have your attention,
you're stuck here now.
We're gonna do some stuff. And they have quite a few tracks that are several songs, and I love the beginning. I know you do too. Of I Am All That I Need.
That's the best song.
Yes, because
it's so inventive.
I don't feel like it goes downhill from there, but I do feel like it kind of is their best song because it does sound like an outburst of emotion after 6 years of not releasing any albums. And then just being like, this is where I am. And he sounds like an unreliable narrator for most of the time. And I like that too. Because then you're like, what am I even in for? Like, for the rest, it's perfect as the first track, even though it is the best, I think.
It's like two narrators. It's like a conversation in his head.
An argument, if you
no, it's better.
Yeah, it's better because it's more
screeching
applicable.
Gazelles.
Yeah, it's more personal to him, and he uses both the lyrics and the instrumentation rather than just the instrumentation to get it across.
Yes.
And honestly, if you can accomplish something with just the instruments, like, that's great. But when one of their key strengths is their songwriting, it feels like such a waste to strip that from a song where you could communicate so much more with both, you know? Like, I feel like they have all those tools, like, they should use all of them, and I feel like in this song they do, because it'll be really bombastic, and then it'll get super quiet, and you're not really sure where he's going with things, and then it'll get really crazy again, and it sounds, and I think they utilize everything that they can in that song, and that sort of energy pervades the rest of the album, and that whenever they're able to use both the soundscape and songwriting to communicate more personal thoughts versus those snapshots like we were talking about. It's not so much about those like little stories that either aren't explicitly related to each other or that are more folky and like legends or whatever. Like, so many of those songs sound like legends or whatever, and these sound like everyday life that you can relate to a lot. And so I think I like that approach, that they did depart from their original style, but in a very mentally and socially constructive way.
Nice. I will say, if you're going to like try out Fleet Foxes, that title, like the first track of this album, is definitely one to like check out, because it's you know, it's as much them as any other song from their beginning albums and stuff like that.
Which is so weird because it's them showing a brand new side of themselves, and yet you're like, I get who these people are just by hearing the struggle that they're conveying over this 6-minute song. I think we can agree that, like, if you're kind of skeptical, you should try I Am All That I Need from Crack Up, or a handful of songs from Fleet Foxes, like
just listen to Fleet Foxes.
Yeah. Or Helplessness Blues.
Yeah, Helplessness Blues.
I would recommend Shore if someone's like, I'm only listening to one album. You guys are asking too much of me. I'm only listening to one album. I would be like, fine. Listen to... Really? I would
It's
say
gotta be
sure.
Fleet Foxes.
Okay.
White Whitner. Oh my gosh.
If they want to listen to more, then I would say, okay, listen to Fleet Foxes, and then that's a great like introduction because it's their literal introduction, and then that journey is fun to watch. But if someone's only listening to one album, I'd say sure, just because it is that accessible and fun while still being reflective. Sure.
So like
sure thing.
So like if they're really open, you're like, you know, this. But then if they're like reluctant,
yes,
like sure.
Precisely.
All right. I think that's all we got.
That's all we got.
Oh my gosh. Do you think? I think I need more coffee.
Me too.
Yeah,
I'm not nearly wired enough.
I need more my drug. More my
the specific caffeine.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Look out for a Patreon episode if you're not following us on Patreon. It's there, and we'll try and make the link, readily available for you. It's only $1.
Only $1.
So like, yeah, why buy a McDonald's on the app burger when you can listen to us for $1? But also don't feel pressured too. We love you guys, and
so much.
This has been awesome, and I'm so glad that we're starting this journey, and I can't wait to see where else it takes us.
Yeah, thanks for your time. We appreciate you.
Bye.
Out.